And away from Dr. Ekospio Gabra, finally, let's hear from a man whom we spoke to just last week, Sylvester Mensah. He's a former boss of the National Health Insurance Authority. When my colleague Kojo Yankson spoke to him, he had just wrapped up one of his numerous campaigns, saying his days in public office and investigations afterwards show he is the cleanest of all candidates and deserves a chance.
Running around this country, running through constituencies and regions, and in one breath it's been quite satisfying. You know, that breath very exacting, and you put the two together and it's something else.
Now you've just come back, like you said, from a tour of the constituencies, you know, trying to get in touch with the grassroots as you gear up for the big contest. What are they telling you?
Well, I mean, it was this gentleman who said fear delegates. What's the name?
Sir John?
Sir John, who said fear delegates. And so these days, you listen and pray. I must say that it's been very interesting. And if we are all fishing in the same waters, I wonder how others are fishing, because as far as I'm concerned, my net is full. And wherever I go, I harvest. I have a good message, a message intended for focused groups of our party and not for general radio, TV type of discussion. And a lot of people enroll and endorse my message and my candidature, respectively. And I feel emboldened and motivated to carry on. I strongly believe that the outcome of these primaries will be completely different from the perceptions held by a section of our party membership. Let me call it the noise. The noise we hear in Accra is completely different from the mood on the ground. Our party members believe that the party needs change. They have difficulty understanding how we could lose from a position of strength and power and would want to come back from a position of weakness and in opposition. They have difficulties understanding how you put a product on the market, and a product you consider your best product, a product that has been tested and tasted by the market, and market decides to reject the product, and how we believe that the same product can be put in the same market, not in a different market, but in the same market. By implication, the market is wrong. No businessman takes that risk. And they believe strongly that the time for change has come. They believe the NDC requires a new face, a new voice, a new vision, a new passion, a new culture, a new attitude, and importantly, a new set of relationship with the party. And I represent that newness. I have had several interactions on several areas. There's one particular area that keeps featuring, but which appears to be fading very, very fast. Initially, in the late 2017, the question has been, on whose legacy are you going to operate? And if the president himself is around, why won't the person write on his or her own legacy? And I've always said that question is totally bankrupt. And people are beginning to understand that the MPP won the elections not on the legacies of President Kufuor, but they won on the basis of hope. They gave Ghanaians a lot of hope, and that was the basis upon which they won the elections. Of course, we have a good history of infrastructural development, unprecedented, which no other party can rival, as the case may be. But again, it is critical to look at the legacy and to determine whether that is a campaign we want to wage into the 2020 elections. Bear in mind that that was a very campaign we waged in 2016, and which landed us in this messy defeat. And if you look carefully at this, you would observe that yes, indeed, we had great infrastructural developments across the country. But if you analyze some of these on a one-on-one basis, go to the Kwame Nkrumah interchange, the Accra-Dubai edifice, and look at all the polling stations around this project. We lost in all the polling stations around the projects. Around this particular project. When you go to the central region, the sports stadium, the polling stations around the sports stadium, we lost them. And it was the worst defeat ever in those polling stations. And when you go to the KJTR market, it was a disaster. I mean, we were lying face down. The performance was bad.
What does that tell you?
And so what that means is that in government, it takes both, let me conceptualize it, it takes both hard factors and soft factors to, as it were, generate patronage, support, and which translates into electoral fortunes or victory for that matter. And of course, we might have secured over 100% or 100% in the hard factors. And the hard factors are infrastructure. When it comes to hospitals, unprecedented. When it comes to schools, when it comes to roads, bridges, and the rest. I mean, no government matches. But what was lacking was the soft factor. And the soft factor basically has to do with policies. Policies that put food on our table, policies that put money in our pocket, policies that generate jobs for the many unskilled Ghanaians we have across the country. And not until you can marry the hard and soft factors, the effect of the hard factor becomes rather not very significant, even though it is significant. And so it is a great lesson for us as a party, and our party members must wake up to the fact that we need a new type of leadership that would combine both infrastructure and policies that would put smiles on the faces of our people.
Is that what you think led to the loss in 2016? Is it that policies were poor as a government?
Now, I wouldn't say that the policies were poor. I would say that they were inadequate. They did not meet the expectations of our people. And as we speak today, money in the pocket is a major challenge. It is even worse now than it was under our leadership. Issue of food on the table is terrible. This Christmas is an example of that difficulty. And jobs. What we see are artificial jobs, unsustainable jobs, and these are major difficulties.
So do you agree with those?
But what I want to say is that we need a type of leadership, the talent and the set of talents in government that can combine both infrastructure and policies that would meet the expectations of our people to make infrastructural development meaningful to them. And that is what I represent. So
do you side, or do you get the point of those who suggest that the hardship we're facing today stems from the failures of the previous government? Yes, they may be worse now, but that the root of it was in what the previous government did wrong.
Well, I think that depending on which side of the political divide you stand, you may want to have an opinion, but the reality on the ground may be different. The economy we bequeathed the MPP was much stronger than what it is today. And if you want to,
numbers bear that out?
Well, I mean, the ordinary man on the street is the best judge. If you ask the market woman what his experiences were between 2015 and 2016 as compared to 2017 and 2018, you get a better feel. I think that we have a way of manipulating numbers that do not reflect the reality on the ground. And I guess the time has come for us to begin to listen a lot more to the people, to understand exactly whether the numbers we are turning out and the numbers we are placarding really rhyme with the feeling, expectations, and experiences on the ground.
The question, I guess, was whether you think some of it stems from things that the previous government failed to do or did wrong?
Unless you have evidence to adduce, and then that becomes a subject for discussion. But as far as I'm concerned, of course, we could have done better, and otherwise some of us will not have come up at all. We could have done better. Infrastructure was great, and but the soft factors, we could have done far, far better than we did. We believe that the time has come for us as a party to give a lot more premium, or place a lot more premium on policies that will generate jobs for our people, that will put food on our table, that will put money in our pocket, and that would make the youth, the elderly, and everyone smile. We need to look at policies on rent that would address the challenges of rent advance, 2 years, 3-year rent advance, which is virtually crippling our young folks who just begin work, who want to get married, and the other challenges that come with them. We need to look at the issue of sanitation. We need to look at what new legislation we could, or strengthen our legislations for the disabled to get them a lot more integrated and absorb them from their difficulties and hardship. Government must take responsibility for the handicapped in society. It is not by, I mean, nobody would want to be handicapped voluntarily. I mean, these are by accidents and some circumstances beyond their control. Most of them have become beggars walking the streets of Accra. What policies can we put in place to ensure that corporate Ghana can take responsibility, can share this responsibility of the physically challenged? And I guess these are a number of issues that the future would want to consider. Not only that, we've been holding Farmers Day all these years. Farmers Day appears to have lost its meaning. The best farmer goes, a regional best farmer goes and is given a motorbike, is given a bicycle. These are completely irrelevant at this time. We need to support our farmers by supporting them secure equipment that could help in processing. The tomato farmer must have an equipment for processing tomato. The mango farmer must have an equipment for processing mango into juice for local consumption and for export. The pineapple farmer must have equipment, and this is a way to grow wealth within your country. Government will simply invest in some of these, and there's an effect on the economy. You create wealth for individuals, for families, for communities, and this wealth, as it were, multiplies, and it generates employment for our young ones who have technical or engineering skills to man this equipment. It develops their skills even better. For all you know, sooner than later, they will begin to even develop some of these equipments locally. And that is how countries grow. You know, we need to look at policies that affect the aged in society. There are people who are over 70, 75 years, through no fault of theirs, have never worked in their lives. They become dependents. I mean, government must look into how to address some of the difficulties of these people in this country. The government simply needs to be responsible. When we talk of social protection and policies, we need to expand on our social democratic credentials as a social democratic party and take our rightful place as a left of center. I think that a lot of thinking needs to go into some of these so that we as a party can take our rightful place. So, I mean, clearly you believe, like many others in your party, in social interventions and so forth. You must be quite pleased with free SHS and planting for food and jobs, NABCO. They must give you some satisfaction. If you want to pick them one after the other, the NABCO is one disappointing policy. You know, we've gotten to a point in our political life as a country where ad hoc programs and unsustainable programs for immediate political gain must be set aside. We need to look at enduring and sustainable policies of employment. You cannot generate employment when you maintain the same structure of economy that we have. We need to move into light industry. There are low-hanging fruits. We need to go into agro industry as a starting point. that is where we may even develop the courage and confidence that we could move into other areas.
Sounds like you're describing one district, one factory.
Well, I think that if the NPP really understands what it means by one district, one factory, it would have performed far better. I think that that policy has not been well thought through. I'm not sure there's a policy document that clearly defines where we are and where we want to be. Not until you can develop a strategic tension between where you are and where you want to be. It's often very difficult to achieve anything. The ad hoc approach is not helping. And I think that we have a government that is very confused about what it wants. A government in a hurry to nowhere. It's sad, but well, it's more reason why we would want to keep quiet a little and watch how they carry on with some of these policies. When you come to free SHS is a failure. It's a complete failure. You have a situation where young ones go to school, come on holidays for 3 months, twice in a year, and so for virtually 6 months in a year, they are home. Every parent who has the resources would want to send his or her ward to vacation classes or extra classes while they're on holiday. And these do not fall under free SHS, and the cost of such extra classes would outweigh if we didn't even have a policy of free SHS and we're going through the normal program. I mean, these free vacation classes and the rest will be quite telling on our parents, on the parents. And
do you think
it completely undermines the whole policy of free SHS. Besides, the country from where this policy might have been adopted does not carry on the way we intend.
I'm talking about the double track.
Yeah,
okay.
Not the double track, but the free
SHS itself.
You know,
okay.
in the UK, which is a country well known for free public school education, senior school, high school education, it is limited to day schools. And so when you want to go into boarding, then you have an additional responsibility of paying the top-up for boarding. And so everyone has basic free education for day school, and anyone who wants to go beyond that would have to pay the extra to go into boarding school. And so they are able to accommodate it. In our case, we seem to have more boarding schools than day schools. We have a flat free SHS for both day and boarding, and you find the whole country, the economy, the Ministry of Finance panting every minute looking for resources just to fill that large hole.
But so far they've done it.
Well, let's see what happens by the close of 2019. We all know that the original program was to implement free SHS for the entire stream 1 to 3 in the first year. They got into office only to realize that they had misfired. They had to adjust their policy and to change the narrative. They began by tackling just new entrants into year 1, as if year 2 would not come. Year 2 caught up with them. We couldn't fund year 1 effectively. We know the challenges that came with it. Then year 2 compounded the challenges, and we had several students sleeping in a dormitory that originally took just half the number. We had some students sleeping on the corridor. We had some headmasters complaining, and some unfortunate ones were either sacked or reassigned because they complained about the reality on the ground. And that tells you clearly that there is a challenge, there is a problem. We see the culture of silence quietly creeping in, and we have a government that, you know, if the only tool you know is a hammer, you treat everything like a nail. Every dissent comes with a sharp hammer right on the nail, and it is not helping the development of secondary education in this country. Now we're going to have 3 years. We couldn't pay when it was just 1 year. We couldn't pay when we had 2 streams, 2 years. We couldn't pay, and now we're going to have the entire 3 streams.
I mean, they will argue that they are paying.
No, let's see. But you and I know what one would have expect is that the media will go beyond an interview situation like this, get to the schools, talk to the headmasters, talk to the students, visit the dormitories, ask questions about how it used to be 3-4 years back, what the situation now is. I mean, we want to have improvements as we move along. Are there improvements? If not, what is the challenge? I mean, these will bring the real issue to the public without the headmasters coming out to speak. Because, of course, we all know jobs are scarce, and everyone would want to preserve his or her job. And for that matter, people have their lips sealed under circumstances like this. But this is information that must be in the public domain. And so I challenge you to go the extra mile, get that information that our headmasters are unable to put out because of fear of victimization, and let us see how together we can address them. Because at the end of the day, let me say that nobody should hope and pray that any government fails. The fact that you are not a member of that government or belong to an opposing government does not mean that the government in power must fail. When the government in power fails, the whole country fails. We must pray that every government succeeds, and we must pray that we are able to deliver a message of superior performance in order to take over, so that every now and then we have a country that is making progress, perpetual progress.
I think that's a good point on which to move to the next area of focus, which is your personal quest for flag bearership of your party. And I want to start, before we get into your own personal motivations for doing this, I want to start from a parallel angle. Every person who has put themselves up for flag bearership of the NDC, unless that person is John Mahama, the person is sending the message that John Mahama is not the best option for 2020. So let's start from there. What is wrong with John Mahama?
Well, unfortunately, I wouldn't want to discuss personalities. I wouldn't want to discuss individuals.
But as a candidate,
I would want to look at issues, want to look at principles, want to look at objective reality devoid of personalities, individuals, and that, I guess, that would be the right path to go. But let me quickly say that to the extent that one emerges and as a flag bearer sends a signal that one is capable of performing better than any other. And so let's get that very straight. I believe strongly that given the opportunity, I'll perform better than we did in our last 4 years. I believe that given the opportunity, I'll perform better than any other aspirant. But I also believe that all the aspirants have their strengths and their weaknesses. We are never alike. There are no two aspirants who are alike, who are the same, and who have the same capacity, the same ability, the same talent. No. And so it varies from person to person. I recognize the strengths in each and every aspirant. But on the whole, I believe that given the opportunity, I'm in a better position to deliver for this country what the expectations are, and to ensure that we place the NDC party in its right place.
Okay, perhaps I'll put it this way. You made an analogy earlier that in the last election, the party put forward a product, their best product. It had been tried, tested, and tasted, but the customer rejected it. So, to your mind, why put that rejected product back to the customer? Same customer.
Yeah, it doesn't make business sense, actually. Right. There's no businessman who would put a product on the market, no matter how much he has invested in that product, no matter the confidence he has in that product. To the extent that the market rejects the product,
right,
what the businessman would do is to determine whether it is the benefit that the product provides that was rejected, or the functionality of the product that was rejected, or is it the aesthetic or relational aspect of the product. So we have three features of a product that determines its marketability.
Right.
And so is it a benefit, is it a functionality? And of course, once the product has been rejected, then there may be challenge with the benefit and the functionality. What the businessman would do is to renew the benefit and functionality. But within our context, this can only be done within the context of putting up a new face, a new voice in our national discuss our national conversation, a new vision, a new passion, and I guess that a new set of relationship. And so that is what I represent, and I strongly believe that anything other than this is not helpful, it's not useful for the collective. It may be useful for an individual or a small group, but for the collective, I'm afraid it is not the best to expect.
Okay, so I mean, since you don't want to discuss personalities, which is understandable, let's put it this way then. So what was wrong with the product? You talked about these three possible areas, the aesthetic, the benefits, and the functionality. So what was wrong with your product as a party in 2016?
Well, the verdict of the electorate was quite clear, that the product was rejected. And if the product has been rejected, what you do is to send a new product to the market.
But if you don't know why they rejected it, how do you know that your new product will be accepted?
I don't want to go. By going into those details, I'm afraid I'll be stepping on the area that I wouldn't want to step. I wouldn't want to discuss personalities. And everyone has his strength, everyone has his weaknesses, everyone makes mistakes and errors. And if those errors are such that they can cost us in an election, I think that the best thing to do is to step aside, and that is what I strongly believe in. You know, oftentimes when you talk about facts and reality, there is the perception that you are attacking an individual or you are bad-mouthing an individual. Look, the time has come for us to be real. The time has come for us to look at the objective reality on the ground. We are taking decisions that would affect the future of our party, not only for the present, but for those who would come before, who come after us. We need to take the right decision. Oftentimes, political decision-making, political judgments are clouded by sentiments, emotions, passion, and what have you. We need to take away sentiments, take away our passion, take away emotions, and look at the objective reality. If it were a test case for a promotion exams, what would be your response to a scenario of this nature? That is the way we need to look at issues as a party. But unfortunately, you know, politics doesn't follow logic, and it's difficult to take out the element of passion. You know, these days when you're even going to marry, you don't marry with your heart, you marry with your head. And even pastors pray and counsel that you marry with your head and not your heart. It appears we need to translate that into politics and get people to look at issues in a rather dispassionate manner. That would take away.
Trying to change the customer again rather than changing the product?
Changing the...
So if you know that the customer leads with the heart, and you're saying that in politics we need to change that, then are you not trying to change the customer rather than changing the product?
Well, it's not about changing the customer, it's about changing the promoters of the product. I mean, perhaps you want to look at it in that context, because every product has its promoters, and the promoters of the product are rather sentimental and emotional and passionate about their product, and they expect the customers to simply enroll in their passion, in their sentiments, in their emotions, and that is what generates the kind of defeat we went through in the 2016 elections. I guess the time for change has come. Sylvester Mensah represents the new change. The change. Sylvester Mensah represents a new face, a new voice in our national conversation, a new vision for this country, a new passion, a new attitude, a new culture, and importantly, a new set of relationship with our party. And I believe that at the end of the day, what is critical is our belief in unity, our belief in assurance of rewarding loyalty, and our assurance of prosperity for all, and importantly, deepening of our social democratic credentials in a way that would keep us apart from all other political parties.
We won't send you a bill for that. But I think it's a good place to then step into you as a person and your own motivations for wanting to step up to this role. Your journey through your party has been significant. While your party was in government, you were investigated by your own party, the government of your own party. Why did that happen?
Well, let me put it this way again. You know, when you're in public office, managing the public purse, the taxpayers' money, by simply accepting to be in public office, you have accepted to be publicly scrutinized for your management of the public purse, the taxpayers' money. What is critical is for you to be investigated and found to be corrupt, or for some impropriety to be assigned or found about your stewardship. I think that for me, I'm so happy that the investigations happen. I don't know what others think, but for me, I have been completely exonerated. I have been publicly investigated and thoroughly investigated by a competent body, and I have been found to be very clean. I've been found, I've been given a clean bill of health. I had a formal letter indicating that, well, we have investigated you, there has been no adverse finding. Again, to the extent of even having my accounts frozen, and I have a court of competent jurisdiction given a court order in which it has indicated clearly that yes, your accounts were frozen, your accounts are being defrozen because there has been no adverse findings. What is more gratifying than this? Of all those who have lined up to lead this country, I guess that I'm the only one who has an official clean bill of health and who has been certified as very clean, consistent with our principles and values as a party: probity, accountability, transparency, and all the values. Right. And I'm very, very happy about that.
But I guess my question was, why did it happen? And you see, the reason why I'm asking this is because you held a very important position. You were the head of the NHIA. Now, in order for an investigation to have been initiated, it would have had to be approved by the president. Your sector minister would have to know about it. Now, to be holding such a position and to find yourself in a situation where your sector minister and your president feel that there is something about what you are doing which is worth investigating. How did that happen? How did you find yourself
I think
in that position?
I think that perhaps government didn't do its work well. Government failed to appreciate the achievements and growth that the health insurance scheme was experiencing. Take it that in 2008, 2009, active membership was below 4 million. And by 2015, active membership had risen to about 11.2 million. Almost 3 times. And again, utilization, that is the number of times people access health care using the health insurance scheme, had also increased from below 8 million to close to 29 million. Of course, they all have financial implications. And so the bills begin to rise. So the government found that it had no response to the funding requirements of the scheme. And perhaps instead of having a better approach to understanding the rising cost of managing the scheme, they thought the best thing to do was to undertake a thorough investigations to understand whether there are some leakages and some risks that need to be addressed. And I think that it was in order, it was fair, and government has that right to investigate any public institution, and that was done. And I'm glad.
You said they didn't do their work well. In what way did the government not do their work well leading to this investigation?
Well, I think that they didn't really understand how the costs for managing health insurance scheme kept rising, and their response was the investigations, I guess.
Should that not have rather called for an audit, perhaps? Would that not have been the proper response?
Well,
you don't understand the money, the finances, so audit.
Well, there have been audit reports. The Auditor General audits the scheme on a regular basis, and so they have access to the audit reports. The audit reports do not allude to any such thing, and so perhaps
how would they
perhaps they wanted to go
to investigation.
They wanted to go further. But the good thing is that the audit reports are there. I have all the audit reports over my stewardship from 2009 through to 2015 that I left office. I have audit reports of the scheme before I entered as chief executive. I have audit reports. At the time I entered, I caused a thorough internal audit of the scheme. And when you read that report, you'll be extremely worried. But that was the basis for developing policies and systems and strategies to manage the scheme. It was not an audit for public consumption to tell the public how bad or good the scheme was at the time of taking over. I think that we must go beyond some of those pettiness, and that is exactly what I did. And so for me, I was as curious as any observer over the investigations, but I'm also extremely happy that it happened, because it tells me that yes, I did a good job. It tells me that yes, I have a clean bill of health. It tells me that yes, I can occupy any public office, because given my role as the chief executive of the Health Insurance Authority, I have not been found wanting in any aspect of my stewardship.
I don't want to harp on this too much. I'd like us to move on, but to sum up on this, to clarify, what you're saying is that while you were in office, there were several audits which all came up clean, but as a result of these clean audits, government somehow felt they must investigate you. What is it that they didn't understand about clean audits? I mean, were the audits not telling them where money is going, where money is coming from, and where it's going? Why would a clean audit make them decide to investigate you?
Well, what we must appreciate now is that that belongs to history. We have a new government in power, and the financial demands of the scheme keep rising. We know that the scheme has various arrears. There are arrears for 2017, there are arrears for 2018, and we've just entered 2019. The arrears gap is even widening. There is a fundamental problem that needs to be addressed. And I guess from the investigations that occurred, some pointers would be provided for the current government, as it were, to look at some of the key issues that need to be addressed. The truth about the matter is that when you're going to the market to purchase, it is the money in your pocket that determines the items you put in your basket, and not the items in your basket determining how much money you must have in your pocket. That has been the conundrum that the health insurance scheme finds itself. The original policy setting up the scheme did not look effectively at the available resources over time, but was more interested in a big basket, perhaps for political gain. And so here we are, we have a huge benefit package with very limited resources.
You don't win, and someone else wins. For example, John Mahama, and he chooses you as a running mate. Will you accept?
Well, I'll prefer to stay away from conjecturing. This is a conjecture. We haven't gotten there yet. There's no basis to think that Mr. A or Mr. B would win. If it was that easy, I'm sure several people would have stepped down by now. I am winning, and I thought perhaps you would have put it the other way. That if I win, who would I choose as my running mate? I think that
wouldn't require a yes or no.
That would be more like it. But,
so who would you choose?
Well, I mean, the circumstances surrounding my victory would determine what the line of action should be and what choices and preferences
So it would be one of the other contenders?
I don't know yet.
Sylvester Mensah. We didn't get a yes or no, we got an I don't know. And it's the closest we've got so far. But thank you so much. This has been very, very engaging. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Grateful.